Number one is that I am a strong advocate for the rule of law, and all the human rights must be safeguarded while enforcing the rule of law. I take I'm cognizant of what is happening around the city of Nairobi, where young people are protesting against the killing of other Kenyans, most particularly the death of Ojwang, among very many things that are happening in our country. And everybody now has become a security expert, directing on how investigations or how the arrests should be conducted. I am very particular that if this situation continues in the manner in which it's being done, we can lose our country. The role that the police play in our country in maintaining law and order cannot be overstated. For most of us who come from areas that have had serious security challenges in the recent past, where criminal gangs, just to mention SLDF, wreaked havoc in villages, families abandoned their homes to live or rather stay in camps. Many people come from Suguta Valley, who come from areas that have pockets of bandits, can tell you that the police play a bigger role than what you can imagine. In Nairobi here, we have many business people who have invested a fortune in their shops, and they rely on the police officers to safeguard their properties and livelihood. I am perturbed in the manner in which the protesters are treating the law enforcement agencies. I am equally shocked in the manner in which many leaders in our country are castigating police officers. I am also shocked in the manner in which the IPOA is threatening the police officers. If this trend continues in the manner that it is now, it will be difficult for police officers to maintain law and order for fear of prosecution. We all know that when a judge or a magistrate makes a mistake, they say the learned court erred. They don't blame an individual. But when a police officer makes a mistake, the same police officer is arrested, is prosecuted. Today, many police officers who walk with their guns, who are required by law to use their guns to protect life and properties. Today, many of them walk with their guns like toys for fear of being victimized, for fear of being prosecuted. I want to ask a very simple question. For example, in a matter that happened at Central Police Station, where it is very clear that officer commanding station was not available at the time when Ojwang was booked in the OB in the same police station. Today, the OCS is under police investigation. The OCS was arrested. The OCS was dismissed from his duties. Yet, there was a sentry officer who was responsible at the time when Ojwang arrived and booked into the police cells. The person who was on duty at that time is the person who should answer all the questions in regard to what happened to Ojwang. From where I sit, I think it was very unfair for the OCS Talam to be arrested. Yet, according to me, Talam ought to have been a person who ought to have begun the internal disciplinary mechanism to discipline an officer who was manning the sentry. I have decided today to come up and defend our brothers and sisters in uniform who do a bigger role. When you leave your house, you go to attend to a tail course. You are hopeful that you will come back in the house alive because the police are available to offer security to protect both your life and the properties that you have. In my view, the IPOA is overstepping their mandate. The actions by IPOA being ready to swing in action and begin prosecutions for any police officer who makes a mistake without looking at the genesis that led to the police officer to use their guns. It is something that should worry Kenyans. It is something that is going to instill fear within our security apparatus of our country. As a legislator, I will never want to interfere with the freedom of expression, with the freedom of picketing, but the freedom of picketing and demonstration, the freedom of speech and expression should not interfere with the rights of other Kenyans. Today, the most worried people are police officers. They are worried because they have a constitutional duty to protect life and properties. But in line of doing what they do, many of them have lost jobs, many of them have been jailed, many of them are facing myriad of criminal cases and prosecutions. So in my view, I think we need to reflect as a country. We need to look beyond whatever is happening today. You cannot condemn the National Police Service on the basis of very few isolated cases because the contrary is to seriously interfere with the work of the police officers. Like I've said when I began this press conference, many Kenyans who have never faced with security challenges may not understand. People from some parts of our country that have been lucky throughout to sleep in the evening and wake up in the morning in their mansion may not understand the role that the police play in our country. But those who come from areas that are often prone to pre- and post-election violence, areas that have been affected by demonstration that is never peaceful, areas like Bungoma, where for very many years LDF terrorized people from their villages. Areas of West Pokot, Marsabit, Baringo, the areas where criminal gangs and bandits hold villages hostage, steal their cattle, maim and kill people, they would understand that the role that the police play in this country is not even commensurate with the remuneration and the benefits that the people of Kenya, through their taxes, accord them. Even as we condemn the small, isolated cases where the police may have used excessive forces, we should turn to the other side of the coin. How many Kenyans have lost their properties, vandalized by people who are carrying demonstrations? So we should come together as a country. And I think if IPOA will continue to terrorize and intimidate and instill fear in the National Police Service, I will be proposing constitutional amendments to either disband IPOA or to reduce them to a manner akin to how Parliament handles petitions. The Parliament of Kenya cannot process a petition that is pending in a court of law. Even IPOA cannot purport to be opening fresh investigations on a matter that is actively being investigated by the police officers. We must let the independence of the National Police Service the same way we do not interfere with the activities of the judiciary. Today, if a Kenyan goes to court to seek for justice, and that justice is not served, there are very many Kenyans whose pursuit for justice in the court of law has been pending for the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, while the officers that are responsible for the delay of their cases, they are not victimized. Why are we interfering with the police officers? Today, there is a thin line between a security officer from G4S, from Group 4, from Securex, and the police and the police officers. So I think as a Kenyan, and having some knowledge in security, we are treading on a very dangerous ground. Today, even when we are here, some criminal gangs can just walk here, begin to beat us, and the police officers cannot do anything. You've seen a young lady from my county, Bungoma, harassing a female police officer who is holding a gun, to the point of even attempting to slap that police officer. But because the police officer was in camera, either in an amateur video, she cannot do anything. Because if she retaliates, the IPOA will open investigation and she will be on her own. This must change. The second thing, we need to mature our processes to the level that our procedure should never revolve around an individual. First, I regret the resignation of the Deputy Inspector General, ELIUD, LAGAT. It was uncalled for. There is no relationship between a DIG and a police station. A DIG is a very senior person. When a DIG makes a complaint and an OB is booked, I have heard people asking why that gentleman was transferred from Homa Bay to Nairobi. When you make a complaint in Malindi or in Isiolo, even if the suspect is in Tanzania, that suspect must be brought to the station upon which the report was first filed. And I think if there is a gentleman that requires to be given a prize or a present, it's ELIUD LAGAT. If I were him, I wouldn't have made a complaint. Yeah? You just look for where the suspect is. You bring him to where you want that person to be brought to. But he was a gentleman enough. He followed the rule of law that even if you are in charge of the police command and there is somebody that has interfered with your rights, you don't take the law in your own hands. You follow the law like any other Kenyans. When you are aggrieved, you report to the nearest police station. You go and make a complaint. So how can that become a mistake? That he has to step down. Was he the sentry officer? Was he the one with keys to open the cells where the suspect was booked in? Was he also performing the duties of our officer commanding police division within Nairobi? Was he the OCS? He wasn't. So it was uncalled for. There are very many Kenyans who make mistakes. So does it therefore mean that tomorrow anybody that if there is a problem in the State Department somewhere, then the minister should step aside to assist in investigations? Like I've said, we should grow and mature our systems such that our systems doesn't revolve around an individual, and that there is no need of interfering with the right of a Kenyan by asking them to step aside or they are being sacked while investigation has only commenced. And in the event that the investigations are unable to unravel or rather link the person that has stepped aside to the matter in question, then we will have already interfered with the right of that particular person. So today I am here to support the role that the national police are doing. And we must refine the law so that they do not feel like we should define the circumstances under which they can use some small force. So that is what I had for today. Yeah, because there is no civil servant who doesn't make mistakes. The head teachers make mistakes. The media personnel, journalists make mistakes. At times you misreport. When you misreport, and even when a judge makes a mistake, there is no condemnation to such an individual. Yeah? We will, because there is no single police officer in their own mind, unless if they have psychiatric cases. There is no police officer in their state of their mind who can turn a gun to the protesters. It can be an accidental discharge. Yeah?
Including the incident yesterday?
I am saying, I'm not the OCS or whatever happened yesterday. I am saying in generality. Yeah? I am saying in generality. Yeah? Because there is a reason, number one, why a police officer is deployed in an area where there is unrest and there is given a gun. You think there is a mistake? They're given a gun? They are given guns knowingly. Why are they given guns and not clubs? Yeah? Because during demonstrations, there are some criminal elements inside the demonstrations disguised as peaceful protesters, but they are just looking at and seizing an opportunity to break into the shops, steal laptops, steal phones, you know. So that's why the police are usually given guns with the bullets.
Mheshimiwa, you said there is a female police officer who was assaulted. She could not do something because of cameras. What do you think she should have done if there were no cameras?
You know, you and I knows what can happen to you if you go to assault an OCPD, an OCS. It was to the extreme. If we have reached a level where a civilian can tease the police officer, you can intimidate the police officer, you can even go to the level where you want to test, you want to feel how the heartbeat of a police officer is behaving, you are attempting to remove the mask of a police officer. You can even appear like you want to undress the police officer. Some can even go to an extent of even taking away the gun from the police officer. And then the police officer cannot do anything. A police officer is a human being. You know, security begins by yourself. Today, if I live here and I begin to box you as a journalist, what you will do is to defend yourself.
What about if she arrested
You know, when you are a police officer and you want to arrest a person, you look at the surrounding. You know, it is evident that the number of police officers at that point in particular the protesters were many. They had actually overpowered the police. And when you overpower the police, you expect them to surrender, lift their hands up, hand over their guns to you. We cannot get to that level as a country. It's not acceptable.
Mheshimiwa, in your honest opinion, do you think the actions of